walang nangyayari. Well, there you go. And um, I hope narinig mo yung usapan kanina. I hope you heard what we were talking about earlier. And uh, if not anything else, we'll track back to, yeah, that's good to know. That's good to know. We'll track back to stuff we said during the first session of Gysio, which is, when you're stuck, the way to get unstuck, to go beyond where you're stuck at, it's like a border or boundary. And the way around it to actually get unstuck is to go up for fresh new thoughts or to go down for insight. Go down for action. Sorry. So when you're stuck, there's a wall you can't get through to the other side, and the way to go around it is to go forward. Is actually if two ways. You either have fresh new thought or insight, we call it, or a shift at the identity level, okay? Or you go down and do some action. What very often happens is people are stuck in thinking, and then they stay in thinking. The way around it is if you're stuck in thinking, just stop doing that because your thinking hasn't done you well, and start doing something. And very often they'll give you new thinking that will help you get out of the situation you're in, okay? And then there are some people who haven't thought about what they're doing, so they keep doing something and they can't get away even though they're doing a lot of action because they haven't changed their actions, they haven't calibrated, they haven't gone up for new thinking that will enable them to do differently and to get them out of the situation they're in. Did that make sense? Can I just hear how that landed for you guys? Hello.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. I'll say that again. If you've been thinking that you've been thinking, but what you've actually been doing is just overthinking and it's gotten you nowhere, stop the crap what you're doing. Yeah. And go down and do some action. And in the doing and in the engaging the world, and this overlaps with the talk we had earlier regarding perfectionism. If you engage the world, you start doing things, very often you'll have the perspective change that it takes to have fresh new thought to get you out of the situation you're in. Okay? So if you've been overdoing and it hasn't done much for you, well, stop doing that. Find a way to stop doing that. Okay? Or take a break or whatever. Okay? Just so you stop doing what you're doing and do the opposite. You haven't done enough thinking, do more thinking. And it's the kind of thinking that's different from the thinking you've had. Because if you just keep thinking the same old thoughts, you're stuck. Okay? But very often, the reason why people are just doing and doing and doing is that a kind of thinking got them stuck doing that work that hasn't been useful. And it's usually a narrative or a story or an evaluated story. It's usually you took something for a fact, even though it may or may not be true. Okay. And that's the way to get unstuck. Go up for fresh new thought or insight, or go down for action, and that'll enable you to get beyond the wall that you're stuck with. Okay. And elements along the wall, just to remind the earlier participants of our work here, there's insights, identity, beliefs, skills, action. And then there's the environment. And the easy way to change things is, for now, change the environment. Okay. But the highest leverage things to change are actually top of the waterfall going down, to change the level of who we see ourselves as and how we see the world. So that's a level of insights and identity. You change that changes everything. You have a fresh new thought that changes your beliefs, that changes your skills, that changes the actions you're able to do, that changes your environment eventually. Sometimes we just have to do the lowest leverage thing just to get ourselves out of the situations we're in. So you just change your environment for now, so that you can do something different, so that you can work on your skills differently, so that you can change your beliefs, so that eventually you can have a fresh new thought or story about yourself or the world that you live in. Okay? Or you could start from the top. You sit in a chair until you have a fresh new thought about or attend a session like this until you have a fresh new thought about how to approach life. And with that fresh new thought and insight, by its nature, will come with a built-in action. If it didn't come with a built-in action, that's not insight, that's not wisdom, that's your ego or something whispering the wrong, unuseful thing to you. And I don't suggest you follow that path. But if it's fresh new thought and it instantly tells you what you should be doing, and it's a kind voice, not like a bossy voice, chances are that's insight or wisdom speaking to you. And I would suggest you don't waste time. You do what it calls you to do, because that'll get you out of the crap that you're in. Okay. I hope this made sense. I'll look at the chat for a bit, unless you speak up, which is better. Something from Kat. I'm too hard on myself when I make mistakes. The fear of mistakes I did haunt me, but then I'd curiously like to ask, like for what purpose? Like why are you still doing that? Okay, and a horrible analogy I like to use sometimes is patient goes to the doctor. Doc, it's weird. It hurts when I do this. Can you show me exactly what you're doing? Oh, I hit my head like this. Is it strong or weak? No, I hit my head strong, and then it hurts. Then the doctor goes, "Why are you doing that?" Because it hurts when I do this. And when you're not doing that, I guess it doesn't hurt. So why are you hitting your head? but people don't see what they're doing, and this is all of us. We're blindsided, and there's stuff that we can't see because the thought is too strong, the experience is too strong, the story is too strong. We just can't see things for how they are. Right? So, can I get feedback and or an introduction from people who are here? Why are you here, no matter how late you came in, and how can I help? There's Grace with the ceiling.
3 guns for termination.
Geraldine, hi. I don't know who else is here, but if you don't speak up, I can't help you. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if okay. Hang on, there's a whole long speech. Let me look at this. I want to know how you view yourself growing or knowing that you're doing enough for your personal goals, but getting stuck due to having limited resources. Okay, so considering too many responsibilities you're handling well enough, but gets you burnt out and having no choice but to continue it to live on a daily basis, having no fallback and people underlying you. Okay. How you would view yourself growing or knowing that you're doing enough for your personal goals, but getting stuck due to limited resources. I don't completely understand the question here. What I'm getting is how you would take on like a growth thinking or a mindset or a reassurance that you're doing enough, even if you're stuck with limited resources. Like, I get that part, okay? And my invitation around this stands, it's hard to see that we can do anything about the situation. And, as I said earlier, it may be true. Reality may even be worse than that, but very often things aren't as bad as we think. So by example, lots of employees who are stuck in something they hate doing or have discovered that they hate doing can start to set aside some of that money and start to create time to think. And then with that time and the little they set aside bit by bit, start to go explore other work, or sometimes freelancing, or sometimes doing something entirely else. Okay. the statistics I heard last time is that the average American changes jobs at least, like serious, definite jobs, changes their jobs at least 8 times during the lifetime. The statistics are lacking right now, but um, a lot of millennials, it turns out, can do that many changes in jobs in 1 to 10 years, not even a lifetime. So a lot of people are switching, and if good or bad, maybe the change is the breather that you need. Maybe take a break. And then I'll point out the same thing I pointed out earlier. There's how things are, and then there's how we color it. Okay. Sometimes you just gotta take a break until you see that things aren't so bad, or just take a break and then do something else anyway. So I hope that helps. Again, I take you back to my analogy of the brick wall. You do what you can so that you can do an action, or you do what you can until you could have a fresh new thought, and then you act from there. Right? And it's very rarely as bad as we think, but it will look really, really bad the more you dwell on that. And that's very, very crippling. Now, you got to figure out if you want to keep crippling yourself or do something about it. Because, strange enough, you can. And so that's one of the things I would like for you to explore. There's this analogy, actually, I like in graphic novels and in comics. These are entertainment for some people, but me, I get something useful from it. There's the mythos or the story or the legend of, I don't know if you've heard of, like, the Green Lanterns and the Lantern Corps. It's a DC Comics thing. I'll summarize what I'm trying to say. The Green Lantern ring, the ring that's based on the power of will, is made stronger by the power of hope. Like a blue ring can magnify the green ring. Hope magnifies will. I found that emphatic, quite often true, poignant, beautiful. And we see that in studies as well. Hope even enhances things as far off seeming as consistency, as grit, as perseverance, as surviving. And if you don't have a hopeful story, I would suggest you find one and then work from that. So I wonder if that helps as I look at these other things. Also, this is just really difficult because we can't have a real-time conversation. It's harder to do because there's what I'm guessing that you're saying, and then us not being able to calibrate to see if that's what we're actually talking about. But I'll just try to answer this for the moment. But let's not do this often. It's better if we have a conversation. And then considering responsibilities, burnt out, have no choice but to continue living on a daily basis and no fallback. Again, you gotta find a way to take care of yourself enough so that you have space to breathe, even if it's for a while, enough space to breathe, even if it's for a while, so that you can think differently, function differently, and do differently. I'll give you a horrible example, I suppose, but some people, they can no longer work at home, and so they'll go to the nearby Starbucks with a definite plan. They're going to spend a lot on coffee. It's a lot for them at the moment, but it's what it takes so that they have the discipline to finish something in an hour and a half. You do what you can with what you've got from where you are, headed in the direction where you actually want to go. Okay, and even if that's bit by bit, that's better than not doing anything at all. The compounding effect really takes a while. You're kind of looking at like a 6-month period, honestly, for a lot of people. Or take practically how long you think it's going to take and multiply it by 2.5. And I'm sorry, you got to keep your hopes up. It's going to take about 2.5 what you think it's going to take in terms of time. And this is something I modeled from one of my coaches. Now I call it the Clark's rule. It takes a while, but you gotta work at it. Let me explain that practically. In when changing body composition, let's say somebody is morbidly, grossly obese. There's a period where, with the best efforts, they will see no changes until like the 4th or 5th month. The first changes will just be mood and energy levels. But if they don't know that that's how it's going to play out, and they keep looking at the scale for the first 2 months, when the best that will happen is mood or energy change levels, they'll get discouraged, disappointed, and not pursue. But if they know that it takes a while and that they'll start seeing body composition changes 4th, 5th, 6th month in, then they can do what it takes to let the compounding effect kick in and grit it out, persevere it out, and wait it out until like the 5th or 6th month, when they'll see the fruits of their labor pay off. In the meantime, they need to have indicators for themselves while they can't see the results. And they could use indicators that they never thought of. As long as I do something today, that's a marker that I'm headed in the right direction. Okay? But, if you're relying on an image that you aren't at yet, especially if you're relying on a perfectionist image, you'll quit early. So I hope that helps. Hang on. Where are we at? Sana nakatulong. Did that answer your questions, JC? I hope. It's just sad we can't talk and this is hard for me. Miss you, Coach Six. I'm here because I want to learn new things and solidify current data. Okay, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're picking up something useful. This is basically for getting your shit in order, getting yourself from inertia into momentum. So if you have something to sort, that's better. Just plain information is hardly useful. If you make something of it, I'd be very, very happy. David, sharing this brilliant one-liner I got from latest Deadpool and Wolverine. Wolverine, I'm not who you think I am. You've got the wrong guy. Cameo characters, you were always the wrong guy until you weren't. Nice. Nice. And it took me years, not just months, body composition. Yeah, but you've changed your body composition, man. Like, amazingly so. So, good job. That's, you're proof to the world that magic is doable and that you did it. So, good job, man. JC has notes taken. Take a break, do what you can, and act from there. Yeah, hope magnifies will. Find a way to take care of yourself for you to see things differently. Yeah, it takes a while and expect the time frame to be 2.5x more than you expected to be. Yup. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Help naman po. I'll digest information after the Zoom meeting. Yeah. I thank you truly. David says, okay, hang on. Does anybody else want to share something? Or are we going to drop the call for now and pick up next time?
So, I have one, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. Yung kanina, I like your analogy with the waterfall and parang
Yep.
napaisip ako. If you're stuck, so it's all right to somehow become worse than you were before, but you can think of it as one step
It's all right to what?
backwards. It's if you're stuck, for example, you're stuck where you are. It's not
Mhm.
bad if you become worse than you were right now. You were stuck and then you got worse. Kasi you can think of it as one step back, two steps forward, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. An overlap with that you may not have caught off because it's early in the call. Was when I talked about the moral game. The moral game is the sustainable game. Let me explain. The moral game is one you play where the most number of people win the most number of games over the longest period of time. Okay? And you could think of it that way, will this help me win a game now and later? Will this help me and my loved ones win the games now and later? Will this help my community win the games now and in the future? And if the answer is no, it's not the moral game and it's not the sustainable game. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it is.
As an overlap to what you just said. Yeah. the game that the grand good game is the game that helps you win the most number of games for yourself and the most number of people over the longest possible period of time. That's sustainable. And I gave the analogy of a politician plundering resources. He'll win the game for himself, but a lot of people will suffer. That's not a moral game. You don't even have to think of it in terms of morality. Is it a sustainably good game for the most number of people? If it's not the moral game. It's not the useful game. It's not the thriving, sustainable game. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
I yeah. Anybody else? Otherwise, we're gonna wind this call and pick this up again. Just to plug what we're trying to do, I'm helping you folks out because these are friends of Ken and they're coming from communities we overlap in. But this is meant to be a paid series of sessions, okay? And it's actually best that way, no matter how that exchange is done. Because very often people will just take something as information unless there's a legitimate buy-in. So my buy-in for this session is, if you like what we did, send us funding so we can fund other people, or we could use your testimonials or feedback because that'll drag more people into this game and it'll make it a much more useful and fun game for me to play with you guys ongoing. But the intent for this actually is to have like a weekly session with a very low buy-in, and there's an 8-week version of this and a 90-day version of this that's heavy intensive coaching. There are group versions and individual coaching, mentoring, advisory, consultancy sessions which are available. That's what I hope to make of this, and I'm doing what I'm espousing. I'm starting the ball rolling no matter how slow it seems to start, because this is something I actually want to build. And the backdrop is I'm doing this first because it felt like I needed it. I could use the getting off my ass. I could use getting my shit in order. And a very fast Professor Richard Feynman technique way to do things is to drag other people, where the fastest way to learn something is to learn it as if you have to teach it. And I use that as a method for accelerating what I do when it's something that needs to be timely. So it's also an example of emergent phenomenon. If I engage with at it, no, I have a theory. Now let's shoot it in the foot and see if it survives. So that's how the focus and clarity work that I've done through the years, even overlapping, and Ken has helped me with some of this stuff, has progressed. I have an idea. I think it's true, not just at guru level, but this seems to be true for me and true for all humans. Now let's test that theory. And so I share the theory with the world. And if it continues to stand, it has been scientifically proven, or true enough until somebody proves it wrong. And so some of these ideas have held, including the visa axis, insight, identity, belief, skills, action. Okay. And then principles of focus and clarity, which overlap in one thing. That the process of clarification and focus is actually a removal of things which distracts and drain from us, so that we can actually focus on what we need to do. Focus and clarity is having a 24-room mansion and then turning off all the lights where you don't need them, so that you have the lights on in the room where you actually need the lights on. It's not concentrating light into a laser. It's turning off all the other lights we don't need, so that we actually see clearly what we need to see. The process of clarification is a removal of the unhelpful, unnecessary, so that we can actually have more refined, more of what we actually need and want for the moment. So if not anything else, my invitation for this session is to have us look at our lives and then look at anything, even if it's a small level. Look at something that may be not so useful for us, and then do less of that or drop it if you can. Okay? Understanding that this is a negotiation. There are things which are actually workable and not so bad, but we overthink things and make things bad. Okay? So you have to look at that as well. Okay? And then look at the visa axis. The things I could work on or reduce or eliminate or amplify and make better. Is it at the level of who we think we are and the stories we carry ourselves in, what we believe, the skills we could take up, the actions we can do, or the environment we can change. Okay? And you could take the low leverage path up the mountain, where that might be what you need to do for the moment. Okay? If there's no time to think, you do the small actions until you create time to think. And then change your life in a big way. Or you could start at the bottom. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's what's useful for now. Change the environment so that you can do different actions, so that you can pick up different skills, so you can change your beliefs and you can change your story and your identity. And then you can have fresh new thought and then change your entire personality, your entire world. That's workable too. Yeah. I hope you got something from this. And if there's nothing else.
Madam.
Yes. Hi, Salamat. Somebody talking. Oh my God. It's so hard to talk to yourself. I was starting to get delusional. It's horrible. Why you do this to me?
Then first, we have a question sa chat. Second, ayun, basahin ko muna.
Yeah, but
Sabi
they
niya,
don't want to come on. They don't want to come on video. It's so hard. Me talking to myself. It's cruel.
it's cruel. So yeah, we
It's
have
mean.
one
It's mean.
question sa chat.
Yeah.
Second is, would you like to get the email addresses of yung mga participants today so that when we have probably, I don't know if we will have like a curriculum or kasi you mentioned about the 8-week session, and then we could probably send an email later on with the registration link and also what's in it, and also kung magkano siya talaga para we could solidify yung program.
We could do
What
that.
do you think?
We could do that. There's also a 15 chapter book guide already, but
Okay. That's nice.
I don't know how to do the email thing though. Do you know how to do the email thing?
Not really. Ano lang sa chat. Guys, if you could please put in your email sa chat so that we can send later yung what's in the 8-week program and with the registration link and also the price. I think inaano niyo pa po ni Ken yun, no? Parang finalize niyo pa.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out something. Yeah.
Okay,
Initially,
great.
I was working with like a really cheap entry, so that there are no excuses. There's this unfortunate weird thing in the space where we work with, where unfortunately the more painfully you build, the more people pay attention. It's utterly funny. But me personally, I wanted to start at like, I don't know, $17 or $7 for the guide. At 27, maybe they have access to the previous recordings, maybe. Then we'll figure out something from there. But that's the buy-in for each weekend session.
Okay.
And so with that, hopefully that's a small buy-in, but at least people are bought in and maybe they'll bring in their A game and not lurk in the background like creeps. It's mean. And not come in with like weird names like sebum and kulangot and putrefaction or something. Come on, come as a person.
Okay.
Yeah. If that's possible at all. Okay. And then we're sorting out something for an 8-week thing. There's already a curriculum. I talked about that in last week's session. And then there's between 16 and 32. Again, I'm shrinking them because again, it's me again trying to do too many things. So I'm
Yeah.
concentrating into the critical modules. There's 8 and then there's 16 and then there's 32. There's a core 8 that I want to work with. They're fantastically useful. They overlap with my other work. So I call them neuromagic. It's kind of like NLP meets magic, where it's not magic in the way it's typically thought of, but it's me because there's a process and there's hypnosis. And so I see a lot of the quote unquote magic out there as having like a neurological or NLP-ish basis. And so I call my stuff neuromagic. Overlaps with that, and then it overlaps with the other course I did, Racing Reality, which is like a way to radically rewrite your life. It's a trip. It's something else. Okay, and this also overlaps with the focus and clarity coaching that I do. And so there are a lot of overlaps, and I could tell them about the individual courses as well, but they gotta leave us contact details. Let us know if this was useful, and if they never leave us feedback, they're never gonna be on this session again.
Okay.
Because that's kind of my request for the buy-in for this. Unless they want to send us funds, or if they want to fund somebody else going to here, that's useful.
Okay.
That's a good way to pay it forward. Okay, but
So
minimum, tell the world about us so we could make this progressively useful work. I'll still do this for myself, but it's just a much more fun game if there are other participants. We learn stuff without the delusion that we think we got it right, because people are going to tell us if we got it right or not very, very quickly. Like, you're delusional, Strix. What the fuck are you talking about? Or, you know what? That was actually useful. I'm glad I came. And I don't want to be delusional. It's just easier for me to see my blind spots when people call them out on me. So even me, because we all have blind spots, I have coaches. I get coaching because there's stuff I won't see. Yeah. And it's kind of what we do for each other here. We help each other see what we can't until we see better. Yeah. Okay.
We have a question here, Strix. Actually, 3. But before that makes sense actually, guys. Siguro sa mga hindi pa nakakalala kay Strix, sumasali ako sa mga ano niya before. I was the first session na sinalihan kita kay Strix is yung sales and persuasion, because I was an operations manager for Microsoft that time, and I was really negotiating dun sa mga I sobrang useful niya, and eventually nung dumating yung time sa buhay ko na I had depression, tulong din siya sa akin. So he has a lot of, siguro kaya hindi mo maano yung curriculum ngayon kasi hindi mo alam kung alin dun sa alam mo yung gusto mong ilagay dito, no? That's what I'm guessing, because you have a lot to offer.
The theme, it just overlaps with a lot of stuff, but the theme is one solid thing. It's getting your shit in order, getting the fuck on stuff, getting off your damned ass, and doing something useful in the world.
Okay,
It's for people who are kind of stuck and need momentum.
Okay.
That much is clear. It just overlaps with all of the other work I do, and so it just makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, so yung feedback lang, ang daming aspect sa buhay natin na kailangan natin ng coach, like what you mentioned earlier. May ano din siya sa buhay niya na may coach siya. And me, I'm working in a coaching company, and having a coach dun sa aspect ng buhay mo na kailangan mo talagang ayusin, it's like a hack. Kasi may coach ka na tutulong sa'yo eh. So, the investment for having a coach, rather than really parang blindly na may experience mo na lang and gawin mo yung, di ba, yung mga kailangan mong gawin, be it tumagal pa siya, or alam mo yun, makuha mo kagad siya yung ano na yun, yung goals mo. Having a coach really does make sense and really helps us. So we have